Welcome to That Japanese Thing. This week we're talking about the, what are we, winter anime season, I guess?
Winter 2024 anime season.
2024 anime season. Thank you, Yesh. With me as well, Dylan. And my name's Chris.
Hi.
Welcome, guys. Sorry I'm late. I just kind of forgot
Chris.
about it, even though...
It's okay, you can forget about us.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's fine.
It's not important
It's
anyway,
fine.
right? Yeah. So this is like kind of, I feel like quite a packed season, and so I don't think I'm going to talk about literally everything because we'll be here for a while. Even though there's actually there are less anime this season than they were the last two seasons. There's like a bunch of continuing stuff, and there's just a bunch of good things. So it's difficult to decide what to talk about and what not to talk about, I guess is what I'm trying to say. As always, we're just going via MAL anime, M-A-L, I guess. How would people, my anime list, right? There you go, let's say that. Now we're gonna sort by, what did we decide to sort by, guys?
We normally do via members.
Let's do score, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, do
Score it is.
And, cool, great. Not gonna talk about second seasons of stuff.
Correct.
So, there's Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
I've watched 2 episodes of it. I don't think it's great, but maybe it could get there. Basically, I've just seen an introduction, so I feel
I
like
have watched
it's
4
hard to
episodes.
judge.
Sorry, Dylan. Yes, you go ahead.
No. Yes, I'm at the same level. I am enjoying it. It's going to be one of the few that I keep watching. It's pretty good.
I've watched 4 episodes. Coming in, I'm someone who has read the manhwa, so I know that it is a ramp. I'm aware that the first episode at minimum was always going to be a bit slow and perhaps disappointing. Personally, I didn't find it disappointing, but I did find it kind of easy to bounce off of. I will say that the ramp is there and it's going very well in my opinion. Episodes 3 and 4 in particular have been quite enjoyable and promising of a greater future. And episodes 1 and 2 mostly were there to establish the world setting and background. I can't remember the word I'm trying to say, but the things that Jinwoo is looking to accomplish. It's to tell us who our hero is as the ramp occurs. And then episodes 3 and 4 are more pure visuals, music, and build-up of action.
So let's lump this one in with another one, which is very similar. The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Just as a comparison, both of them are like gamified dungeon crawly kind of things, where adventurers go into a dungeon and collect magic stones and whatnot and get rewards.
I'm going to say that there's a very good reason why Solo Leveling is different. Solo Leveling is set in the modern world. Too many isekai, like this isn't an isekai admittedly, but the Unwanted Undead Adventurer is the standard isekai. There are guilds, there are ABCDE ranks.
Yeah,
there's
neither of them is really an isekai per se.
Yeah,
there's
there's no
portal
isekai
travel
in
Solo Leveling, I guess, so it is kind of isekai.
But the Unwanted Undead Adventurer is a fantasy setting with magic. And
so
it's
is Solo Leveling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy. It's set in modern world.
No,
But
yes, there are magic statues that are shooting laser beams out of their eyes.
okay, so it's a sci-fi. Cool. Anyways,
No, they're magic. It's not.
okay.
There's no sci-fi in it.
Yes, because the ghouls
it's like-
could be explained by technology as well.
It would technically fall under urban fantasy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, still fantasy.
I don't
for
know.
sure.
Sure,
Moving
I'm
on
just-
though,
Yeah.
the Unwanted Undead Adventurer is trying to establish a slighter, darker theme setting where our adventurer it is. The other adventurers would instantly kill him if they found out about his curse, etc., etc. And I don't know if we've covered it yet, but he's literally like struggling to
Yeah, no, he's a ghoul.
gain the
sort of-
ability to speak and stuff.
Oh, well, no, I mean, at this point in the what I've seen so far is like the big thing is he's kind of like a vampire spawn at this point. So he like wants blood and flesh.
He actually hungers for
That's the
flesh,
thing, yeah.
which is...
But that being said,
If you're
right,
gonna say really it's slightly darker when our MC is literally thirsting for flesh, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I mean, I saw someone's skull get crushed in Solo Leveling under a statue's foot. Yes.
Yeah, I understand that.
There's been nothing like that in like the Undead Adventurer guy. He's rescuing people. He nibbled on someone's shoulder. It's not terrifying. He's helping girls that get lost in dungeon. He helped a guy get his business back together in town. Very different. I think lighter tone than solo leveling.
It's interesting that we have completely opposite views on that. But anyway,
Okay.
Undead Adventure is much more strongly based on the fantasy. There's a labyrinth nearby that they're exploring. Where solo leveling, there's like a malevolent evil system that's like an alien invader kind of thing that's like just presenting these things to invade the world. The dungeon itself kind of doesn't attack in Undead Adventure. It's mostly managed.
Yeah, I mean, there is like some mystery there, the dragon and whatnot, and how he's a thing, I guess. So, but yeah, both of them are similar but different. I guess choose your poison. I think I probably like the Undead Adventure one and like quite a bit more. But again, I've only watched episode 2 in solo leveling. Getting the terms wrong because of the level in the name. Okay, so that's the highest scored one in that genre, I guess. Moving on to a completely different one, which I doubt either of you have looked at yet. There's A Sign of Affection, which is a sign language romance, modern Japanese story. But
I watched the OP.
It's actually, the music in it's pretty good, surprisingly.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And then Yesha's out.
Right. So, but I mean, Yesh doesn't like romance stuff. We know this. It's just about this deaf mute girl. Well, I'm not entirely sure if she can speak or not, but she hasn't, and I've watched
She has not yet.
3 episodes of it, I think. And about her love interest, who's like this weirdly worldly Japanese guy. He's always like traveling outside of Japan, and he speaks English, which is very, very foreign and exciting, I think. But there's nothing there that's supernatural or fantastic or anything. It's just about, it's pretty good romance. Surprised it's this highly scored, I guess. I recommend it if you're a fan of that. But we're not going to speak about anything. That's second season, so we're just moving down.
7th Time Loop is not a second season.
7th Time Loop is not? What do you think, Yesh?
I think the initial premise is interesting, but unfortunately, despite me saying those words, I've watched 1 episode of this.
Okay,
they did it. Oh, okay, good. I like the premise. I like the initial concept. I have read the manga for this, and they're doing a pretty bad job of interpreting it into manga, I feel. Which is maybe why I stopped watching the anime, but I need to... You can't judge an anime off of 1 episode. That's just not how any of this works.
Yeah.
Maybe the studio gets its feet under it or something. I reckon this has potential to be interesting. They give the main lead a lot of character. She has a bunch of world experience. She's relatively confident in herself. There's a lot of positives about the characters in this.
Yeah, so the premise, right, is she keeps dying in a war, and every time that happens, she gets sent back in time to the moment where she gets divorced from a guy. Or
and she tries different paths every time to try and escape that future.
And the 7th time around, she gets engaged to the man who killed her in the previous life. And that's sort of where the story picks off. She
decides to dodge fate by charging at the person that killed her the most.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, there's like circumstances around it, I suppose. But it's actually kind of oddly relaxing. It's like one of those slow life kind of fantasy setting things.
I get the impression this is going to be one of those like building a kingdom type shows where like finances and farming are like big topics of discussion. So
yeah, like a big part of the story is her being like she like infiltrated the group of maids in her service now, pretending to be like one of them, that sort of thing. It's interesting, but it's not action packed or anything. Although, like one of her lives, she was like a sword person, so she's good at that.
Has fought before. Yeah.
So pretty fun. I like it. Dungeon Meshi, delicious in dungeon. A terrible translation, but it's what we have. It's okay. I like the animation is amazing. I think me and you were speaking about this the other day-ish. Like particularly like Marcel. Is that her name?
Girl.
Yeah.
Marcel, yeah. Facial expressions, voice acting, music, animation, lighting, everything is well, not everything, I should say. Rather, everything that's giving us the presentation is spectacularly done. As a huge fan of not My Little Witch Academia, as a huge fan of Little Witch Academia, it's obvious that they brought in the people that worked on that show to work on this. A lot of people were concerned that Trigger is a company known for their high action and explosions. How would they do with this? And the answer is just fine. In fact, pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, just they spend all the frames animating like facial expressions instead of explosions, so it works really well. Like,
Although,
yeah,
sorry, I do want to say, Dylan did point out something to me that actually would bother me in other shows. Maybe I'm giving them too much of a pass because of my love for Little Witch Academia. There is a pretty big cognitive dissonance, where the premise of the show is that they're rushing down the dungeon to save the sister.
yes,
But the entire show is a slice of life, slow burn, kind of like we're taking our time and enjoying life on the way down kind of show.
it is and it isn't, right? Because I mean, it's not like there's like a a highway or something for them to get there.
Well, no, but certainly they are not like super diving or anything. They are. We do spend a lot of time conversing with orcs, camping, and assorted other things.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say that they aren't rushing, but the animation or the focus of what is animated maybe does focus a lot more on their downtime than on their travel. So it feels like their progress is slow.
I think we've
The MC is just not phased at all about the person being digested in the dragon. Like he is only interested in what something tastes like.
Yeah, no, something's broken about him, and that's a bit disturbing. But I guess that's not the focus of the show.
I love the halfling in this. As a side note,
He's the
we
most
got a mildly soon halfling. It's the best thing.
He's the most D&D like character in the whole thing.
Certainly.
The dwarf is just like a great weirdo as well. He's got like a similar kind of broken personality as the warrior guy. And yeah, it's just about them eating monsters all the way down to the red dragon level, I suppose. And we'll see if we make it there or not.
I actually feel the third episode makes the dwarf much more believable than the warrior to me. The idea that the dungeon is an ecosystem, and without him, the ability to maintain the third level becomes difficult. The balance between monsters and people would be off.
It's interesting
because he's literally maintaining an ecosystem.
with
And
his
it makes a
golem
lot more
farms,
sense. With his golem farms and clearing out the latrines and protecting the monsters that keep this level at this level. Otherwise, more powerful monsters would come up. So, like, there's a balance, and he's literally part of the system maintaining it. And it makes the rest of the dungeon feel more believable. Because now we are aware that there are a series of systems maintaining the status quo. And, like, we all kind of, like, hand-wave that the dungeon exists and it has a status quo. We all just kind of accept that in video games. But this show is kind of, like, going out of its way to show us that these systems exist for a reason and they are maintained. And I think that's pretty super cool, honestly.
Okay. So Cherry Magic, I think, is just based on a live-action television show of the same name. Obviously not Cherry Magic, it's the English title. So it's about, like, I don't know where this comes from, but it's like a Japanese belief, like if you don't remain a virgin until you're 30, you get magical powers.
Yes, the wizards thing.
Yeah.
Do you know that they call clarity wizard time for that reason as well?
No.
I'm not kidding.
Just stop.
I don't think that's actually true, but
It is actually true.
okay, we're not going to argue about this because this will go down a dark path. But so it's that, and I like the live action thing. I watched a couple episodes. It was cute-ish, but didn't like it really. I didn't really understand what was there.
It's a BL thing. There's a level of Fujo that is no longer accessible to the average man, and I feel like this is diving into there. So
It's true. Yeah. The wrong way to use healing magic is amazing. Premise is isekai. 3 Japanese high school students are transferred into another world. One of them is accidentally transferred with the 2 hero candidate people, and he turns out to have healing magic, which a very eccentric person in that world has an obsession with making a healing squad for battlefield situations, and she's basically just abusing the exploits of being able to heal your body in order to make her training possible. So she'll run the people to near death and then heal them, make them do push-ups and heal them while they're doing their push-ups so they can continue to do more push-ups. And this obviously accelerates their training to a huge degree and is making the main character more and more powerful. I think it's a really interesting abuse of a system. And it's nice that it's a person in the world who's abusing it, not the Japanese teenage boy who's come from his video game loving existence doing that for once. So that's kind of interesting. And there's no point where they're like messing around trying to explain what isekai is. Like the female protagonist just like is kind of obsessed with that genre, and so everyone's on a level playing field right from the go. There's no wasting time getting into the premise, at least. So that's pretty great.
Got a lot of subversion in it. It's the first isekai in a very long time that I found myself actually enjoying. So that says a lot from me.
The next,
I think they do sorry.
No, go yeah.
Next, no. We can keep
next. The next one is no two ways about it. It's just about bondage and teenage girls. So Japan being Japan. The premise is there is a evil organization and a good organization, and they each have a Madoka-like magical being who grants magical girls their magical powers. And the evil magical girl, who is the protagonist of this, is developing a bondage fixation as her evil personality. So her, that usually magical girls have like wands, and she has a horse riding crop with a star at the end, which she uses to turn like plants and things into tendrils and, other devices.
But it's also pitched as she loves them so much that she wants to see them squeal.
Yeah, and it's gushing over magical tale. Or the Japanese title, I Admire Magical Girls. Which is actually like the English title underneath like the Japanese stuff. So I don't know why we decided on Gushing Over Magical Girls. But anyway.
But yeah, it is presented as she's actually a fan of magical girls. She's like fangirling over them and she loves them and follows them.
Yeah.
And then the power initially is presented to her to do what she wants. And what she wants slowly, not even slowly, like pretty quickly, slides into areas that we did not expect from her initially.
It
and it's actually kind of interesting watching her corrupt herself, kind of, while blaming the evil powers.
Like the 15-minute corruption. it was real fast.
It was pretty damn fast.
Hi, would you like to be a magical girl who also is evil?
When she's
no, I will resist. 15 minutes later.
She feels bad about it, and then she's like super interested. And there's this entire exploration of her character that's a little bit more interesting than just making this an ecchi series.
Yeah.
And also, some of the magical girls go full mask off with her after a while. And it's like more revealed that being nice, but they all are just people. And I think that's sweet.
Okay.
But I'm not going to be following this show, unfortunately.
I've never actually heard like the term girls love before. I know that maybe
GL,
some people.
It's part of the... It used to be popular, but now we just call it the other thing.
I mean, usually we just call it Yuri, right? But,
yeah, Yuri.
I guess this is like the more hardcore version of Yuri. But,
well, in a weird way, BL is treated as being like more pure than... Yeah, but it's assumed that men are interested in this for one reason alone, so we don't hear girls love much, we hear Yuri. And this is definitely ecchi, so it definitely pushes more towards...
Super duper in that category. And
yeah, so it pushes more towards that than girls love.
And then there's also in another one, Sasaki and Peeps. Sasaki
and Peeps.
This one also has some broken young female characters in it. I read a bit ahead of this in some of the light novel stuff. This is much darker though in tone.
Yes, yeah.
But the overall show is like someone really liked isekai, and also, time travelers and magic and psychic powers. It's like if Harui had imagined a world, this would be that world. So our protagonist is a cliche. He's a nearly 40-year-old Japanese businessman who gets isekai'd. He discovers a magical pet who gives him magical powers, and then he finds a secret organization ruling Japan that controls people with superhuman powers. There is a yandere death match girl who lives next door to him. There is a magical girls association doing things in the background. And then there's the other world where there are magical entities. His familiar, who is a great sage the Northern Star Sage or something, who's been turned
not what
into a
Peeps
little
is.
parrot. Yeah.
But yeah, Great Sage, and in this world is just a parrot seeking Kobe beef.
Exactly. It's just every cliche crammed together into a pretty good anime. As you know, if you don't like something in it, you just wait 15 minutes and it changes. So it's just you never have a chance to actually get bored of it, even if you don't like it. It's very odd. Like, I don't know if it's good. Do you think it's good?
I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. I think it's been animated spectacularly. But I read the book and I was not really into it.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know if it's like, I just don't know if it's bad or good, or if it's just average. It's just confusing.
I feel like it was flipping through like it just didn't develop anything. You know what I'm saying? Like even the main character doesn't really have emotions, from what I can tell.
He's very level-headed for a man who's dealing with.
Which I would normally be okay with if he struggled with anything, like if he had a conflict about anything. But he never does. He knows his position in everything. He automatically has like absolute certainty about everything, and then he just like carries on. I just feel like there's no depth to it yet.
I guess his like characteristic is he's kind of greedy, right? So he's willing to do a lot of dirty work for the sake of money, that sort of thing, I guess. But
He's trying to live a
not-
hedonistic life. I thought the
yeah.
goal was to like just live a hedonistic life.
He's not like a Kazuma character or anything in that regard. He'd be okay
Well,
with
that's
a
the thing, right?
He'd be okay with like a simple, easy life as well. He doesn't need to be in a mansion or anything, though ideally.
But like Kazuma has character. He fails when he tries sometimes. This guy
Yes.
doesn't do things. He doesn't accomplish things. He does like I don't know if you can agree with me, but
Sure.
like it feels like if he failed at something, it would be water off a duck's back. It never mattered.
well, the
to him
bird
in
would
the first
save him,
place.
right? Or something. Something would happen and it would
But
be
also,
fine.
he wouldn't be like, damn it. He'd
And-
just be like, on to the next thing.
Like quite a lot of like the abilities we see just kind of get trained off screen as well, which I find a bit annoying. Like with Kazuma,
Yes,
Kazuma suffers for everything he has, right? I mean,
But
Kazuma
that's
doesn't
part of what I
deserve
mean,
anything
yeah.
he has because Kazuma's a terrible person. But we see him work his way towards his goals, and
Also, the
they're
most
all
important
earned,
thing.
at least, yeah.
But the most important thing is that you sell the audience on wanting it as well. So if he doesn't get it, the audience feels bad for him, kind of.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad for Kazuma sometimes, especially when Aqua just appears. But I never feel bad for this guy. It never feels like he's invested in anything. It just feels like he decided to throw some dice today. And if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. He doesn't care.
So
And if he doesn't care, I don't care.
in the first episode, the long one, the 40-minute one, when he got all the stuff taken away from, it felt like he was getting all the stuff taken away from him when the secret organization
Yeah.
kind of captured him. So I kind of thought, okay, this is where the tension comes from, because he has
Some
to try-
tension or some conflict.
But then he just has a conversation with his boss, and that's over. We're moving on now.
That's literally that, and the scene where the girl is outside her house all of the time,
Yeah.
and then she gets a little bit crazy. I would have thought that he would have been like, I mean, if you're always outside, you can come into my place. If you're hungry, you can eat. Is there something wrong? Is
Yeah,
something
right.
happening with any sign of care?
Just
And I
human,
would have been invested.
Human kind of emotions.
Human interaction. But he is so detached from everything, which you could argue is because he's a Japanese office salaryman, right?
Yeah,
He has had all passion burned out of him.
true.
But if he has no passion, why do I care?
I mean, I'm probably going to keep watching it, but
I'm not
interest
dissing
in
the
this.
show
Yeah.
itself. The animation is great, the music is great, the world is interesting. It's just I don't care about anything.
Kind of everyone except for him is interesting, though. And maybe that's...
More interesting.
Maybe
and then
that's
we
the-
leave them after 15 minutes.
This is true, yeah. Then we move on to a different story. Literally, like in the last episode, yeah, he saved a kingdom. And, okay, that's done now. We're going to have a different story now. Probably go back
Because
to...
he doesn't care.
Pretty much. Aladdin. That's our next one. Bucchigiri, which, I think means, punch to pieces, kind of, if you translate it. So the main character's name is Arajin Tomoshibi. Tomoshibi is lamp, right, in Japanese. So
Oh, okay, I didn't know
Aladdin a lamp, right? There we go. The girl in it with the black hair, that's kind of crazy. Her name in English translates to Jasmine. So everything is just like, Arabian Nights. Except that the lamp is a gun, and he shoots himself in the head with the gun to activate the genie powers. He gets a bullet lodged in his skull, which means he can see the Jin. But it's actually just a street fighting anime when you get down to what it really is. It's just over the top Tekken style kind of street fighting, and it's really like it's Mappa, so the animation is great. The characters are dumb, and I don't know if they're very deep at all. They mostly just seem to be crazy people, you know, who are willing to get into fights. I think it's got that absurdist kind of Japanese tone, which some things do. Like they go to like this high school where everyone is just, you know, nothing is functional. Everything is being trashed. Like the teachers just walk into class and like start giving lectures to groups of people who aren't listening. They're just playing in the background. And then the main character's objective is he wants to lose his virginity. So that's the wish he made, right? But for some reason, the genie's way of doing this is to give him power to punch people. So nothing makes sense. There's one like continuing gag, which kind of makes me laugh every time I see it though. There's an incredibly nervous salaryman who's hovering around like a escort service, hugging his briefcase, working up the courage to like go into it. And every time we see him, it's because a fight's about to break out, and one of our main characters will run past him and scare him into the parlor, so to speak, right? But other than that, it's kind of, this is nothing. It's like sugar and, I don't know, colors, sounds, nothing much there. Yesh, next one, maybe you can do.
Villainess 99. I may be the hidden boss, but I'm not the demon lord. Is an isekai, not otome, what's it called? It's a villainous anime.
Yeah.
In the past, where a person who enjoyed a romance game dies and gets reincarnated into the game as the villainess of that romance game. In this particular instance, our character is born into the second most powerful house in the kingdom's oldest daughter, where she is supposed to be the high school bully of the heroine of the story. And then after the demon lord is defeated, she suffers a terrible and horrible fate.
Yeah, in the game.
So she goes out of her way.
So she's like the hidden boss in the game, right? Yeah, in the original
also,
game.
she is a hidden boss.
Yeah.
After you defeat the demon lord, you can go and fight her, and she's supposed to be like the secret ending boss. If you defeat the secret ending boss, you get the true ending.
Exactly.
But Yumilia, our main character, decides that she doesn't want to be defeated and or hated by everyone. So she goes out of her way to try and dodge that future by being just like effectively a shadow at school, not talking to people and hiding. Unfortunately, she's also so much of a gamer that she accidentally levels up to level 99 in the pre-school year period, which immediately sets all of the main characters off, as during the introduction to everybody, they measure your power and she comes up as level 99, so people automatically assume she is a liar, or she cheated, or something has gone wrong. And unfortunately, the heroine is also someone who has reincarnated and thinks she's somehow become either the demon lord or a villain in some other fashion, and is horrifically afraid of her.
Yes, yeah.
And so we end up with these series of slapstick hijinks where everyone's trying to prove that she's a liar or a terrible person, but she's just someone who doesn't want to be involved with anyone. And the heroine keeps trying to either assassinate her or like tell people that she's like a horrible, terrible thing. And every time those two meet, they end up with the poor heroine getting traumatized. And it's got a lot more humor.
You also said something interesting to me the other day about it, is that the game wants the story to progress like it should. So
yes, yeah.
Keeps
so
breaking the characters and trying to make them more like they would be in the game.
If she was being a bully, so incidences continue to occur as if she was a bully, but investigating proves that other people are doing it and blaming her, or the heroine herself is like being twisted by the game world in a way to force things to happen the way they happened in the video game. So there's this external force thing that's like demanding she follow the fate of the world. And it's kind of a story of this girl trying to resist all of this peer pressure and all of this assumptions about her to live just a normal, happy life, and the struggles of trying to make that happen. It's actually one of the more funny ones. I personally think this is a good one. I would still say that the previous one, Baccarina, I can't remember what its actual name is better than this. But I would say that if you enjoyed Baccarina, you should watch this as well.
No one's going to know what Bucchigiri is. It's the one with Katarina is the main character. I can't remember the name.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like surviving the world of Otome games or something like that, but I can't remember
It's
its
like
actual name.
it's like the kind of original one in the current set of them, I guess.
It's the first one that got an anime adaptation, but the manga for this came out before Bucchigiri. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Bucchigiri is slightly better than this, I feel, but this is a good one.
I'm sorry, just pausing because someone seems to be shooting fireworks in the background. I don't know why. Hopefully that's not coming through. So just like give a go back on what Yesh was saying about the world, like changing her into the villainess. Like no one believes she's level 99, right? Because that's stupid at like 16 or however old she's supposed to be. And so they're like, okay, well, you've lied. If you lied, you have to be punished. So show us, that you're actually level 99. So she's like, okay, well, this is my highest level spell. And she summons a literal black hole in the sky.
Into the sky outside
Making
the
her
school.
look like an absolute demon to the rest of humanity around her as like...
Traumatizing everyone in the school, thus bullying them.
It's
Always a
sucked
bully.
into nothingness in the sky and above them, yes. So... anyway, I'm kind of enjoying it more than it probably deserves to be. Dylan, I know Hokkaido girls are super adorable, but why do you like the anime?
Because it was made for me.
What do you mean by that?
I shouldn't be able to say anything good about it. It is a shameful ecchi that I enjoy watching.
It's not
it's
really
very cute.
ecchi, is it? Doesn't?
It has ecchi. It has a lot of ecchi in it.
It's ecchi.
They focus on her boobs and her boobs bouncing in his eyes.
It's
there
not.
is
It's not
loads of fan
technically.
service.
It's not technically an ecchi. You could theoretically watch this on public Wi-Fi and you'd be fine. But it would have tags, I guess. Is
I wonder what the threshold here is.
I'm just saying, like, the company who made this doesn't think it deserves to be called an ecchi, because
The
otherwise...
ecchi tag.
Yeah.
We see her in
Okay.
our underwear a fair bit, so I don't know, man.
Yeah. But it's... So, I think this is another one that's been, financed by Hokkaido's government. They've just been throwing money at anime to advertise. And this one... Yeah, it's just gonna follow, like, a set of 3 or 4 girls who the Tokyo-centric... standard Japanese protagonist has been, assigned to a school up north where his grandmother lives. And so he's going to go through all the flavors of Hokkaido females in the course of the show. And
Yeah.
Dylan has a weakness for the gyaru, and that's the first one
true.
we saw.
She is a very sweet girl.
And then there's, the ice girl is the second one, I guess. But I haven't watched further than that, so I don't really know where it's going from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think beyond like the sort of sweet, fluffy, ecchi, there's not much the series to kind of recommend.
There's
But if
also
that's something that you like, and it might be down your lane.
it also doesn't look like anime, right? Because it's in Hokkaido, which is much different from the rest of Japan. It looks like an Alaska American town most of the time.
Yeah.
And Hokkaido accent it really is like super like, adorable. They're right about that. It's because it's close enough to like standard Japanese, where it's kind of like Scottish, like a Scottish English kind of accent. It completely just normal English, but it's got a little bit of flavor to it. I don't know. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Did anyone watch Dr. Elise, the royal lady with the lamp?
I decided against it after seeing a write-up on it. It just didn't seem like something I would be interested in.
Yes.
I literally didn't read the manga, so I didn't watch the anime.
Okay. It's like a triple isekai thing. That's probably not the right way of describing it. She gets reincarnated twice. She dies both times, and then she returns back to the past in her
That's
first
why I
life.
chose not to do this.
I hated every moment of watching like the first. I got an episode and a half in, and maybe I finished the second episode. I can't remember. It's so boring, and I'm sure they're setting characters up, and there might be reasons for it, but I don't understand why we have to spend time in worlds that she's not going to spend the rest of the season in, so to speak. Like they set up a
It's
bunch
to
of
establish
yeah.
how she makes choices and stuff. It's because that's the difference between her and the previous her.
I guess, but I don't care about the Japanese characters because we're in a fantasy world by the end of the first episode again. Like, they make a big deal like of her learning German. Like, I'm sure that's going to be super useful to her. It's weird. I don't like it. It's just boring. Majo, The Witch and the Beast. This is similar. Let's discuss this with another one in mind. So this and Metallic Rouge, very similar concepts. One is a magical one.
Is it similar?
And one is like a tech-based one. So we have a handler and we have a warrior character with a transformation ability in both cases. In Witch and the Beast, we have a wizard, or like a mage, I guess, and his transforming werewolf, beast, zombie, I don't know what she is. And they go and they hunt witches and they deal with magical problems and they help people. And the other one, we have I don't know, what do they call them in English? They call them like copper people in the Japanese version.
Neon. I think they call them neon.
Nanes or something.
Nanes, yeah, whatever that means. So we got like semi-artificial people, completely artificial. I'm not sure, aliens of
Pretty
some
much
sort.
completely artificial people. But they were created during a wartime situation, so they were created to be stronger and tougher than humans. But they have since had the Asimov 3 rules put into them.
Yeah.
Where they cannot harm a human, they must obey humans, and they must protect their own lives.
And so we have, in case, we also have a girl who transforms into like a warrior thing, and she fights evil versions of her kind, I guess, or whatever. And
there are 9 immortals that have broken away from the Asimov rules and thus can kill people. And they also have unique powers that make them much stronger than other names.
Yeah, and then we have her handler, who Dylan asked me a few interesting questions about the other day. I think we just shut up about that. So yeah, they're similar to me at least, and I don't have a preference. I think they're both just about like the same in my mind.
I am incredibly enamored with Metallic Rouge on the other side of the coin. I think both in the music and the animation style, there's a lot happening. And the world building in episode 4 of Metallic Rouge is incredible. I do think that episodes 1 and 2 of Metallic Rouge were a little bit slower, or perhaps not as great. But 3 was nice, and 4 was incredible for Metallic Rouge.
Yeah, I think in either case with these ones, it's not so much about like an interesting twist or like a weird gimmick or something. It's just if you like the way the world looks and just kind of staring at it for prolonged periods of time, then you'll be happy watching this. But I'm not particularly convinced I'm gonna continue watching either of them. Next one, Weakest Tamer. Anyone watch this except for me?
No.
So this one is interesting because it basically only has one character. She's a runaway, and nothing particularly special about her. So she's basically spent most of the time in the wilderness kind of scavenging things, like from rubbish heaps. And she has a weak ability to tame monsters. And to this point, she's only tamed a slime, which can't do anything. So there's nothing overpowered up to this point. It's very slow. She spends literally the first episode talking to the slime, who she thinks is going to die, because it's a type of slime that dies after one day of being alive, sort of thing. But I think because of her taming power, it doesn't. So presumably that slime will be overpowered, by episode 5. But it's just like a sweet kind of show where you watch the scenery. I quite like it. It's very calming. Dylan, Brave Bang Bravern.
Yeah, Yuki Bakuhatsu Bravern. For me, it's like this weird kind of gag anime where the gag, maybe not gag anime, but humorous anime where the humor comes from the complete disconnect of like 2 parallel sort of story themes being merged into one. So it's like a giant robot anime in the very sort of over-the-top camp theatrical 90s robot, Japanese sort of genre, where the robot is sentient and can talk and is all about truth, justice, and the Japanese way in this case. And the pilot is sort of the more like gritty, realistic view of warfare through his perspective, because he immediately gets PTSD. So the premise of the story starts off with a training exercise where these pilots are in sort of more traditional military mecha, and they're doing fairly well. Aliens invade, they basically wipe out any of Earth's military, regardless of which nation they come across, and it's this sort of Deus Ex Machina event where where Bravern, this robot, comes down, saves the day, saves the pilot, demands that the pilot, enters him and fights with him, and they do, and they survive. And in the very next episode, episode 2, it sort of like opens with the Americans waterboarding the Japanese pilot. Yeah. He's naked, strapped to a chair, and they're busy waterboarding him, because how else are they going to get the information as to what the frack is going on? And meanwhile, the robot is sort of, in a very like camp over the way, sort of over the top way, fighting off other alien antagonists, making these sort of very dramatic duels, and complaining that not complaining, but having faith that his pilot will come back for him so that they can win together. Meanwhile, the pilot has like severe PTSD, doesn't want to go anywhere near the robot when they eventually sort of fish him out of whichever dungeon cell that he was in, and they force him to do so. And that, for some reason, is just such a disconnect that it's kind of funny. And so it's like, it's just wild that they shove these two genres in together such that they don't work, but they don't work so much that they actually do work in terms of being humorous. So that's my take on it. It just breaks your brain whilst you watch it. It's kind of out there.
It looks like it kind of Yoshi kind of looks a bit like the drawing style. Kind of looks a little bit like the updated version of, say, like Kanedesco, where it's
I thought My Hero Academia more, but I can sort of see it.
But where it's like a mecha that's parrying other mecha. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it certainly is. This is supposed to be a straight man and like a comedy thing almost, where one character's like, war is the worst thing and all of this is the worst thing, and the other character's like, explosions! Not quite that, but like overly eager, I guess.
Fight evil wherever you find it.
I went into this hoping for a mecha anime, and I got technically a mecha anime, but good God,
that's funny for me. It's just great when you were hoping for a mecha anime and you got this.
Yeah. Great. I think I will watch this, but like I take some mild adjustments to expectations.
But no, right? Doesn't the poster for it, if you look at it, just look like they took a character, like a standout character from like 13 different mecha franchises, and just decided to make one of each.
Yeah.
Like you've got your Witch from Mercury character, you've got like the girl from what's it, the Tessarossa one, right? There's just one of
you've
each.
got the commander and like the sub crew all around them as well.
Yeah.
Doctor characters. Yeah, it feels like your traditional, this is going to go up into space and live aboard a Navy ship, and then our hero launches every so often and does a spectacular maneuver to save the day. But no, it's not that. In particular, the scene where the camera comes down from the roof onto our pilot with his head facing up because it's being held there, with a towel over it and water being poured, was just like a, wait, what's happening now?
Yeah. You're taking it, and then you're like, what the fuck? Yes, it is.
You know what is actually something like we'd both rather watch, Yesh, is a evil man spending 15 minutes of runtime of an anime deciding whether or not he can eat a panda-shaped Nikuman.
Pancake. Yeah. But the Villain's Day Off, Mr. Villain's Day Off, I think is this anime that you're talking about.
It is.
Before the season began, I hyped it up a little bit as, if you enjoy a slow time, this is the anime for you. And it is paying off. The art style is in particular spectacular for this. They went for a more like a smudgy water art color type of thing, in my opinion. And it's so good. The villain is absolutely villainous and at the same time enamored with pandas. I'm having such a good time with the show.
It's kind of like a sort of bigger budget, better animated Goku Shufudo.
It's so weird that you're right about that. Yeah.
Right, and even the voice is like that menacing way of speaking is kind of similar. For me, it falls short because Goku Shufudo, like, it kind of makes sense to me from a Yakuza standpoint. I'm less interested with sort of the evil villain. standpoint, but I do get it. I do get the charm.
I think as someone who was reading manga so avidly in the time when good versus bad, what's it called? When there's a 5-man team that
Sentai.
transform to fight
Sentai.
Sentai.
Super Sentai.
As someone who's read so much Super Sentai, this just falls right into my lap of comedy that's been adapted from a thing I already like. So perhaps you have to have a buy-in before you can accept more humor in that same genre, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But this tickled a great deal of a number of fantasies for me.
No, this is amazing. It's like the way they animate him when he's evil. He kind of looks like Wario, though. That's the one thing I think looks a bit funny and ridiculous.
A bit funny, but I mean, he feels threatening.
It
feels like he is practiced at being an evil guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he's a nice guy that's been drawn to look bad, like the main character from Toradora. This looks like a villain that does villainous things.
And he does, but not on his day off. On his day off, he goes and he looks at pandas in the zoo and works up the courage to eat things. It's
in the shape of pandas.
It's adorable. I love it.
It is extremely 4 without the need for romance. I will always 10 out of 10 that.
Perfect. Chain Soldier. This is better than the description of what I'm about to say suggests. It kind of feels like another bondage one, and it sort of is. It's about a high school girl and high school boy who get in a it's hard to describe. Okay, so
allow me to
Yash.
present the world at least.
God, please.
So it's set in a semi-modern day world, except demons have invaded. The supernatural world has bled into our world from a place called Mato.
Yeah,
which is kind of like hell. Yeah. And in Mato, the humans have found these special fruit that give girls, and only girls, superpowers. And thus, despite being a modern world, women have kind of taken over society as the people that protect society. And a large number of superpowered women roam about, protecting, in this case, Tokyo, against demon invasions, which occur semi-regularly. But also, these little portals appear that just kidnap people into them every so often, so that the demons can feed upon them.
And they look like Bleach Hollows, kind of, I guess.
The mutated enemies, what are they called again? I can't remember. The mutated enemies called Shuki might have once been people or spirits of people. It's kind of unclear. And they eat people to gain more power for themselves so that they can invade harder, effectively.
Yeah.
It seems like there's some kind of force behind them directing them as well, but that's not defined at this point in the anime. But yeah, effectively...
And that all sounds real cool, right? So it's we're thinking, this is a battle anime. No, you are wrong. At some point
there's a lot of battle anime in the background of this.
You are wrong, you dirty little pervert, you.
So the main character, a boy, he gets, sent through one of these portals, but he gets rescued by the female protagonist, and she starts slicing about these demons, and she gets some support, but she's running out of power, and she says okay, I've got one last thing to try. Will you try anything to stay alive? And he's like, yes, anything. And she's got a domination ability, I think, or a slave ability,
contract,
where she can amplify anything that she enslaves with her magical powers. And so she does it to the boy, and he turns into a super powerful heroic being. He kind of, he looks a lot like Heroic Age-y.
I was gonna say, he resembles a little bit of those things where the human character transforms into a... What's Godzilla called?
Kaiju.
Like a monster. Kaiju.
Yeah.
He gains kaiju-like ability.
Exactly, yeah. He's not super huge or anything, but he kind of looks like an armored version of those evil spirits, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he's shown to be very powerful. But this contract isn't one-sided, and so she has to give him a reward thereafter. And the reward is determined by the true desires of the person who the contract is made with.
But also, the more he helps, the more of his desires get expressed in the reward.
Exactly. So she just immediately starts making out with him afterwards, right?
Yep.
And
but also, it gets revealed that she lives in a dorm in Mato, in the magical Tokyo, in a more Shinsengumi kind of samurai era.
Yeah, like 1800s sort of mansion. Obviously, that's maybe when it was made or whatever.
But also, they're wearing uniforms like the military police during when swords became illegal for samurai kind of thing.
Yeah, late period, early modern industrial, yeah.
And he becomes a live-in
janitor.
work boy for
Caretaker.
building. Caretaker. But like he cooks for them as well and everything. So like he's doing everything kind of.
Yeah. He's
with
their
the
slave.
occasional. Yeah, he's one of their slaves, and everyone else is kind of interested in him because they're so unaccustomed to seeing men.
Seeing men, yeah. And we slowly learn that basically every other character in the show, every female character has kind of a slave fetish thing going as well. So the second girl we're introduced to uses like blackmail pictures of him to control him. Because, that's fun.
I mean,
that's the theme. It's actually quite
like
good. But you have to.
A maid was brought into a samurai anime, and all the men are in love with the maid girl. We've seen that before.
Yes, yeah. But it's not a maid fetish. It's literally like a slave fetish thing that's going on here. So that might upset you. It's not like a real slave thing, but it's there and the implications are there. Moving on though, Sengoku Youko. Yuko is another word for kitsune, like a magical kitsune. It's Sengoku is the warring period in Japanese history, the Warring States period. And it's about these kitsune siblings who go around late medieval Japan, fighting monsters with a Ronin samurai and a half monster girl. I don't think it's good.
No,
I think
really.
If it was like your first anime, it's like probably something you'll find amazing. It kind of has like 90s anime vibes about it. But
I could imagine being quite enamored with this if I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like I was some other anime that wasn't particularly good. If I watched it now, I would be wondering why I was interested.
Like a Naruto or something.
Yeah.
Of that ilk. Anyway, watch it or don't watch it. This one is very, very popular. Hime-sama Gomon no Jikan desu. It's time for Torture Princess.
Torture Princess.
Despite having Gomon torture in the title, this has nothing to do with torture in the literal sense, although it takes place in a torture chamber in a demon king's castle. The princess is very resistant to physical forms of discomfort, but she can have her arm twisted with buttered toast, apparently. Takoyaki, ramen, the desire for companionship and playing video games, for example. She's very easily influenced by things that she was denied in a strict upbringing as a princess.
All the luxuries of life.
And it's becoming more and more apparent that the demon faction is losing this war because they're the good guys and they're trying not to do bad things. Like they're fixing zoos in the background instead of fighting the war. They're, devoting like resources to education while the war's going on. They're not actually, hurting the princess in any way. They actually become her friend. So it has vibes
of It's supposed to give you that fluffy feeling on the inside.
There was Demon Lord Castle, Sleepy Princess.
The princess trying to sleep in the Demon Lord Castle. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the name, but anyway, it's exactly that same premise where eventually the princess is going to either end up marrying or befriending the Demon Lord, and basically having free reign of the castle, but the torture's still going to go on for some reason because that's the gimmick of
the premise
situation.
Of the show.
I suggested
Today, princess. Extra bacon on your eggs. Ooh.
It would actually be a great mealtime anime to watch. Either breakfast or supper or something.
There's a level of it in the show already, so.
Yeah. Yes, Ishura. I watched
Ishura
10 minutes of it.
Is much better than its placement on this list suggests it would be. So Ishura is a multi-hero battle fest. I forget, a tournament arc, I guess is what you could call it. Basically, the premise that we are presented with versus the premise that's a little bit more revealed as you go into it are quite different. From the get-go, we are introduced to the idea that this world is filled with these dungeons that were created by the great and powerful Demon Lord, and that there are these isekai heroes, or heroes from the other, as they are called in the show. But they weren't summoned by the locals. They just kind of appeared in the world. And these heroes don't care for the locals. Not all of them don't care, but at least the ones we introduced to in the beginning don't care. They mostly are interested in trying to help themselves in some fashion. And so the introduction to the show is a little bit of like almost a slice of life for about 10 minutes. Where these girls are attending a magic academy and trying to like live life in a magical academy kind of thing. And then almost immediately after the beginning song, a giant enemy monster attacks and does bad things and death happens. And then one of these otherworld heroes rocks up, asks for food in order to defeat the villain, fights the villain because he is such a battle junkie that he can't resist going to go fight the big enemy monster, and then gets the food as, like, thanks, effectively, before walking off laughing, while we are back on our main character girl, who's watching her hometown burn. And she decides to dedicate herself to finding a strong enough otherworld villain or hero to kill this man that's laughing at her home village's destruction. And then we go through the stories of a couple of other heroes as the episodes go, and all of them are unique, interesting characters that have wildly different powers, and maybe even wildly different power levels. And it's introduced to us this idea that basically the Demon King has destroyed most of the world, but now that he's died, all of his armies are like splintering and causing chaos. They're no longer just attacking in a warlike fashion. They're now just trying to burn the world.
No.
So the last remaining kingdom is trying to organize all of the heroes together so that they can go out and destroy all of this via a tournament arc, effectively to determine who should be hired and who should be abandoned.
Oh, I think I actually haven't watched this. I think I. You know what actually happened? I think I typed in Ishura into my search bar in my anime app, and like I probably clicked on Meiji Gekkan 1874, because I have not heard not remember any of the things Yesh talked about.
You know what it's sort of the last part of the first episode reminded me of was the trailer for Dark Souls, the OG Dark Souls.
Yes, yeah.
Where it goes through all of the big bads, you know, and it's got
and
that
you're
same,
like,
kind
I
of
don't,
art style to it.
I don't know who these people are, but I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
I will say that the story develops a little bit more at a better pace after episode 1, because I think they wanted to have a big bombastic holy shit what's going on moment in episode 1. But I do feel like they sacrificed characters for that to happen in a way. So you kind of hate the MC, not the MC, but at least the otherworld hero. I don't know about you, but at least I felt like the character was introduced in a manner that made me not want him to like be involved in anything ever again.
Yeah, so, I mean, they make it kind of straight that the MC has stopped caring about everything now, because everything she loved was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Before she had already been traumatized by that. It's been destroyed again, so there's like no sense of safety in that, and that she's kind of been released now. She's free, and so she kind of decides that the mission that she's going to undertake is to destroy anyone with power, because they're obviously what's wrong with the world.
Yeah, everyone with power
why.
is the evil. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she's like, okay, I'll try and manipulate things so that happens.
Meanwhile, there's this other world. There's this like kingdom from this world that's like the last stance for humans, and they are trying to destroy this little sub kingdom. That's
kind of weird, because it almost implies there's going to be like an A and a B plot, which is not like common fare in terms of.
Well, also presenting that the humans of the world could actually be evil, instead of just like humans fuck yeah, is also kind of nice.
Yeah.
But far more importantly, one of the things that they've introduced but haven't explained too much is that there's a real chance the reason why all of these other worlders are here is because in the original world, which I suspect is our world, they were deemed as dangerous and kicked out. This world has been given the trash of our world. The things that don't work in our world were sent there.
So, more important than all of that, though, is search engine optimization. And
SEO, yes.
And Yubiwa Monogatari is the name for the Lord of the Rings in Asian languages, the Tale of the Rings, right? So whenever you type in Lord of the Rings,
Yubiwa Monogatari,
you get Keikon Yubiwa Monogatari, Tale of the Wedding Rings. And this is my belief, this is why I think this is so popular. So it's just a Korean manhwa that's romance-based, kind of ecchi, and is kind of weirdly popular. It's surprising it hasn't been made into anything at this point. I think if it was Japanese, it probably would have been made by this point. It's because this has just been exploded in popularity for like the last 5-6 years.
So I was going to say, this is an older manhwa. It has already proven its success story in many ways. I don't like this anime, so I don't want to talk about it.
No, I'm not going to talk about it either. We're done. It's SEO. That's why this is popular. Moving on. This is awful. Strongest tank, Labyrinth rates.
Horrific. This is literally the definition of what Dylan hates in particular.
Yeah, exactly. And it just what's wrong with society, right? It's just so bad, cringy.
It's supposed to fulfill the desires of office workers in Japan.
But like
who
sexist,
are-
misogynistic office workers, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's standard fare, right? That's average anime. So basically, the long story cut short on this is that this party of highly successful adventurers decide to cut their tank because his damage abilities are too low and
Your
he's not
tank,
contributing.
yes. Oh god, the tank's damage is low.
But it
What was
turns
that?
out that actually he was doing a very important job keeping the rest of the party from getting hurt, and they didn't realize that.
Who knew?
He was actually the one holding the whole company, adventuring party together.
Yeah, and if only more people had
And-
slept with him, recognized his greatness, then it all would have worked out for them.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's this anime. Office Worker Man should have received more recognition and bitches, the anime.
Don't watch this, please. Please stop making these things. Okay. A Foolish Angel Dance with Devil, like another pseudo weird, like sexualized thing that's going on this season.
Another bondage thing, kind of.
Bondage. So the angel puts a magical collar around the devil's neck, which she licks and gets really like gross with her saliva before she puts it on. Anyway. And it controls him, so it can literally control his will and make his personality change, which is gross.
Wild.
She's so evil, but I think they want you to think she's also like super cute at the same time, which doesn't work for me because she's just too evil to be likable for my
See,
taste.
this is
anyway.
Nagatoro-san for me. I don't understand how the rest of you don't see this.
No, but like Nagatoro is not actually.
She's not actually evil, she's an angel.
She's not. She's compared to this one. Compared to this angel, she's an angel. She's not like enslaving anyone. Yes, this person is literally.
No,
like,
she just bullies a person relentlessly to make sure he's alone.
teases a lonely person, and for some reason keeps him company-ish. This is not that. This is literal torture for a large portion.
Yes, this is a lot more egregious.
And then at some point he gets Stockholm syndrome and starts liking her. That's what's going on
sounds
here.
exactly like Nagatoro to me.
We can disagree about that one. This is just weird. I think I'm gonna keep watching a few just to see how they like justify some of this stuff. Because the world's kind of
You are a
interesting.
true anime viewer, sir.
They-
Wow, I hate everything that's happening in this, but I'm gonna keep watching.
Like the world is kind of interesting. It's very much like a Chinese like thing I used to watch, where the hell and heaven are sending people through to the real world because they're having like a conflict. So they're sending, in this case, they're like sending their children through to Earth just to so they don't have to be involved in a war. This is weird. That's the premise anyway. That's why they're at the same school, I guess. And everyone's a bit insane. It's not interesting though. It's just kind of difficult to like the people in the show. Okay. My instant death ability is so overpowered, no one can stand up to me. This one
I like this show.
I like as well. Dylan, what do you feel about this one? I think you've seen some of it.
I don't think he's watched it.
No? Dylan is remaining completely silent. That either means he doesn't like it or has gone to the bathroom. But we'll find out later. Anyway, Yesh, this one is in that
There we
group
go.
of things, which is so bad, it's
Hang on.
kind of good.
Just because Discord muted me. It's conspiracy, I'm telling you.
Oh, it muted you. Yeah,
I
yeah.
did not like it. No. Do not put that in my mouth. It was a filthy. No, I watched one episode. I bounced off it pretty.
Oh, good.
There was nothing overly offensive about it. It's isekai kind of feeling for me. So
I feel like they made the same sin that they made in Eminence and Shadow for this. They edited a story reveal into the beginning of the anime, which really is just the most ridiculously stupid thing you can do. I effing hate that.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad.
No, but it damages the premise of the story for me. Because this is a gag manga. It's not about the power levels, it's about the comedy.
I
And-
understand why they did it though. It just
Putting that
'cause-
lockdown SCP Foundation stuff at the beginning damages the premise for me quite a bit.
it's just so people get like some idea, of why he has an ability, right?
But
they
It makes it
didn't-
feel more edgy and power fantasy, which this fails at very badly.
Sure, it's
because
not,
his
it's
power is
not
crazy
edgy, it's
overpowered.
not power fantasy. It's just
Yeah,
they've
it's
taken
literally
like
about
almost every trope in an isekai this time
Mm-hmm.
around. It's not Sasaki and Peeps. That's just every trope in every anime. This one is just all the isekai stuff. So
and also all of the bad isekai stuff, like the mind
Yeah, all the
control
trash in
guy,
isekai.
the hero guy, the evil party, the party that returned and then
Corrupted,
has come
corrupted
back.
by power, leveling systems gone crazy, super overpowered things, stupid skills as
then
well. The one skill is mayor. Someone has the skill mayor.
The skill mayor. And we're not following any of that. Instead, we are following a gag comedy duo where one girl is pretty normal and she's haunted by her family ghost.
Right.
And a guy who is trying not to be involved with the world and also has the ability to literally kill anything by just deciding he wants it dead, effectively.
Exactly. And it's not a limited ability, there are no downsides. He gets slightly tired if he overuses it too much. But he says he's learned to deal with that, so he can just continue doing it if he wants to.
He could just keep doing it if he wants to. And like the slapstick comes more from how little he likes people and how much she does like people. And also how twisted her classmates get the moment they taste power at all.
Like one guy goes from like fat nerd character to like serial rapist in the 30-minute period.
Well, wasn't he also the guy though that it turns out that him and his two friends had been here before?
They'd
gone through the adventure, so they've already been in this world, gained their power, had their time to become corrupted, and now that they're back, they're like, let's do it right this time. Since we're like end game adventurers at the beginning of the game, let's just abuse people this time instead.
Yeah, it just keeps throwing weirder and weirder shit at you, and I kind of just enjoy watching it. It's so bad though. It's not animated well. The 3D is terrible.
That's the problem. The 3D is bad. The animation is bad. Sometimes the voice acting goes a bit weird.
Sometimes it is just someone they had on staff, right? You know, but the main cast is okay.
The spirit that's haunting her is so annoying. It's funny actually.
Listen to her voice, but yeah.
But like that's the thing, right? That's the comedy. She's this venerable old spirit from this amazing high-class school of like incredible martial arts, and also the most annoying and irritating thing in existence.
But she talks like a gyaru, right?
Yes, yeah. But also like Danora is so like detached from reality that she can't accept anything, kind of. Like every time anyone talks, she's like in her own world almost.
Yes, yeah.
And then MC-kun is trying so fucking hard to do nothing.
He's just trying
to
deal.
While not being able to do nothing.
Just wants to play his Nintendo Switch
video game. In fact, one of the first things he gets after using all of the money from the initial 3 endgame adventures is a thing that you can rotate with your hand to charge his phone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like you wind it up and he makes the girl just wind it so he can continue playing.
Sit there winding.
Yeah.
And it becomes pretty obvious that Danora was like the idol in the class for these people. Because a lot of people are talking about her or to her, and our MC doesn't care. In fact, the only time he notices that she's a girl is the time she hugged him while trying to get him to avoid a dragon attack.
Yeah, he didn't notice her though. He noticed 2 things on her chest, and that's about it.
Correct.
So, okay, that's all there is to that then. The next one is the Demon Prince and Momochi House. A ripoff of a bunch of other kind of BL-ish, not BL-ish. What are they?
I feel like this was attempting to rip off Fruits Basket badly.
What is that romance thing like? Yeah, exactly. Fruits Basket, that style, that like, what were they called? Ish, that crew that made those.
It's mostly just part of shoujo nowadays, but I think it used to have its own name. Yeah. I just don't know what that name is.
You know the slender boy types, kind of effeminate looking.
Clamp.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Clamp style kind of characters. This is in that theme. Everything's very delicately drawn, very pretty. The guys all have these kind of like Mitsuri kind of personalities, sullen, withdrawn types. They've got something wrong with them that the female protagonist can maybe fix, you know.
And all of their circumstances are hyper tragic.
Yeah, and there's something that'll make them or her cry once an episode. That'll resolve the problem.
But she can fix them.
Or the magical fox spirit guy will come to her aid as a Prince Charming kind of situation. It's fine. I don't know. Don't probably spare yourself watching this. The Way of Pon no Michi. I like this one. It's about Mahjong in Hiroshima, which has another like characteristic, like weirdly spoken dialect in Japanese, so everyone talks a bit weird. Closer to like the Chinese side of Japan, where they use a lot like more old-fashioned kind of language. This one is just about a girl whose mother gets fed up with her, kicks her out of the house, and her dad's like, hey, I had this mahjong parlor just hanging around here. Why don't you go clean it up, open it for business, and you can just hang out there. That's all it's about. It's about her and collecting like a group of like friends around her. I suppose there is one thing. The spirit of mahjong is like a phoenix kind of like magical Chinese bird that apparently lives in a magical mahjong tile in this parlor, and it manifests in the form, looks very much like a sparrow that only she can hear the voice of, and that makes her kind of crazy to the rest of the people around her. Until the sparrow starts playing mahjong, and then everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's just a magical spirit. I guess we can't hear what it's saying. Very relaxing, very fun. Yesh, did you see any of the next 4?
So I didn't watch Yami Shubai.
That's a short, yeah.
Yeah, Isekai Onsen Paradise was on my to-watch list, and I did not watch it at all. I must admit, the premise made it go down on my list of things to watch, and then I just kind of never started it, really. I haven't even read the manga for this, so I'm not sure what this is. But I don't think.
I
this
think
was a
all of us have
particularly
just
good
gone.
thing.
Oh, yeah, we know. We know what this is about. Skip.
Snack Basue is
Snack bus.
weirdly about a bus. Yeah.
No, it's not. Sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
So
it's a food anime kind of. But yeah, you go ahead.
it's about a bar in Hokkaido. As the game, like Hokkaido throwing money into anime, right? Where a bunch of Hokkaido celebrities pop in and out.
Oh, I didn't get
restaurants
that. I
and,
didn't know
like,
they were
you know,
celebrities.
people imitating them and like, kind of, doing impressions. And it's got like lots of local jokes, which I don't understand because I'm not from Hokkaido or Japan, so I don't know what's going on.
But the madam of the place is called Bus.
Yeah, Bas, yeah. And everyone's face is really disgustingly like drawn.
I don't know what this is supposed to be.
I don't know either.
I have only watched one episode, and I didn't like it.
No,
I stopped.
I didn't like it at all. It made me feel weird.
No.
I remember it hurt you that day, Chris.
I just don't. I don't know. Maybe if you, it's like watching those like old variety shows where they'd have like an animated segment, like maybe Monty Python-esque kind of, not quite Monty Python, but where they'd have like a talking head who did like a Tony Blair impression or something. That's kind of what this is, but for like Japanese pop culture references and things. So I don't think watch it if you don't know much about like Japanese like politics and things, I guess, especially Hokkaido based ones. And then this is also awful. Delusional monthly magazine. It's about a man who claims to be Japanese, but he's clearly a leprechaun. You can see him on the poster in that little weirdly green outfit.
Green outfit, yeah.
He is attached to an evil spirit, and he wants to investigate mysteries. So he goes and kind of forcefully takes over this little publication, who work out of like a bar, it seems. I don't know why. They're funded by a mysterious benefactor, and he says he will believe anything anyone says to him. So I don't know what it is or why I should care about it. So I've stopped, and I'm also stopped watching it.
I never began watching.
It's not funny. It's not clever. It's not interesting. It doesn't have like a developing plot or anything. But that'll conclude every new anime this season, more or less. Left some of the short ones out, like the 5-minute stuff. There's some weird stuff. There's one about like internet security. There's one about a virus which did things to like men's genitalia. And there's one which is just horror shorts. If you're interested in short anime, I suppose you just go through them real quick. It's not going to take much of your time. But that's everything. And thanks for talking about it with me this time, guys. Is there anything you're going to continue watching that you'd recommend other people watch?
Other than the stuff we talked about, or
yeah, well, what are you going to continue watching out of everything, even stuff that's like second season or whatever?
Solo Leveling, Ishura, Cheat, Instant Death Cheat, Metallic Rouge, Dungeon Meshi.
Right.
I'm definitely going to continue watching The Wrong Way.
Yes.
Use Healing Magic, Solo Leveling as well. And I'll see how far I get in some of the others. But those were the two main ones this year.
I think there's like a strong contingent of continuing stuff. Like Mashal's there, The Dangers of My Heart, we've got the Apocryphal Diaries continue, Free Run continues,
Bravern is something I will continue to
Shangri-La
watch,
Frontier, although Yash doesn't seems to fall off unfair with that one. Undead Unluck, I think has gotten a bit worse, unfortunately. But other than that, I don't know if I'm super enamored with anything in particular. I think I like a bunch of stuff, and other stuff I think is kind of. I want to give it like until mid-season before I'm going to say whether it's great or not. I really like the level 99 Uro boss, the Villainess, yeah. And surprisingly, I kind of like Gushing Over Magical Girls and Healing Magic. Those are my three.
I will say I'm going to drop Gushing Over Magical Girls. The comedy for it has kind of run a bit dry for me, but that's purely for me. I understand that it's still good.
All right, guys. Cheers for now.
Cheers.
Bye.